Hello and welcome to Money Mindset Money, the podcast. My name is Kylie Romashko and I am your host and your friend, and I'm super excited to have this YouTube channel to share with you guys short recaps of the podcast episodes. So we're going to start with this first episode, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself in case we don't know each other yet, and I have absolutely loved having you guys connect with me on social media. So if you hear this and you relate to something, please send me a message on Instagram and I'll have everything linked down below so that we can stay in touch and I can cheer you on in your debt-free journey. The first thing that I'll say is that I do not have any kind of special financial training, but you'll hear a little bit more in my story, but I have literally made every mistake in the book. So I've learned through experience, and I came from being $80,000 in debt and completely hopeless about money and just any kind of finances in general to being 100% debt free and feeling completely abundant about money and finances and everything else. So let's get right into it. I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. I grew up in a really tiny town in Wisconsin, and I am the youngest of 4 kids. My parents had pretty good jobs growing up, but I had a really bad money mindset because most of my friends were really, really wealthy. My parents worked their asses off, and we never went without anything that we absolutely needed. But seeing my friends have so many more tangible things than me, as a young kid, I just was like, I'm just meant to struggle. I'm meant to be poor. Like, I'm the poor kid, when in reality, like, oh my gosh, not even close. I had a great life. I had everything I needed. But because of the perspective that I held, I had a really bad mindset around money. So throughout school, I worked at Subway growing up. It was awesome. I actually really liked that job, and went off to college. And even though I had this really bad mindset about like, I'm always meant to struggle and just very scarce mindset, I, on the other hand, had this mindset that when I went to college, I felt like I just landed in New York City, and I was just like, I'm gonna make it. And I was super excited for what was to come. I really believed that anything was possible, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I went to school. I double majored in management and marketing, and I minored in business admin. And I worked all throughout college, and because of that, I was exhausted. I remember there was one night I worked at a bar, and I believe I got there like 4 o'clock at night on Monday. So I got there at like 4 o'clock, and then I wouldn't leave till like 3 a.m. because I had to close and everything like that. But then Tuesday mornings, I had this finance class that I had to be in, that there was no other time I could have gotten this class. So I had this 8 a.m. right after. So, obviously I barely sleep. And I remember one day showing up to class, and the girl next to me asked me if I was ready for the test. And I'm like, what test? I had no idea what she was talking about, and it was completely my own fault, but that made it really obvious to me that I needed to figure out a different way, because I was paying for school myself, and I was already drowning in debt, obviously, from that. And I'm like, why am I working to pay for school that I'm failing at? At that point, I was very, very open to other options, and this is where network marketing comes in. And all throughout my podcast and this YouTube channel, I'm not going to mention which company I'm with, because it's irrelevant and that's not what this is about, but it's a massive, massive part of my story. So I had already been using products from this company for a long time, so I 100% believed in it. I trusted the company, the people I was working with, so I was like, I'm all in. And I did well enough that I got to quit my job as a waitress, and that was all I wanted. I was very happy about that because I felt like I could actually handle school at that point while still working, but in kind of my own flexible way. So I was a huge fan of it. It went great, and graduated college, and I had a job waiting for me in corporate America, which I hated. Surprise, surprise. It turns out I just wasn't meant for that, and that's okay. Like, if you love corporate, fantastic. Everyone has their thing. That was not my thing, and I ended up quitting like a couple months in. Throughout my early 20s, I was finding myself. I was trying to figure out what was going to work for me, when it was very obvious that in the end, it was entrepreneurship and network marketing, things like that, things like this is really my jam, just connecting with people. And I found that I wasn't really getting that from my corporate job. So I was trying all the things. I mean, I'm not even kidding. If you Google Miss Frizzle costume, you will see me, because I worked for that company as a model, and it's a Halloween costume company. I didn't wear really any sexy things. I wore the really goofy, silly ones, and it was a blast, but it wasn't necessarily anything that was going to be moving me forward. So I was really struggling. I was living off credit cards, and I truly had no plan about my finances whatsoever. My life really significantly changed when my husband, who at that time was my boyfriend, bought a Nestle Toll House cookie shop in Arkansas, and I cannot make this stuff up. So we ended up moving there, and life got really difficult because his business was absolutely tanking. I was not excelling whatsoever in my network marketing business because I wasn't really applying myself. If I had to guess, I genuinely think if I would have been diagnosed, I probably would have been diagnosed for depression at that time because I was not doing well mentally. All we had in that apartment was a mattress on the floor, and our roommate, who was in the second bedroom in our super, super shitty apartment, he slept on an air mattress, which we slept on one prior to getting our $99 spring mattress. So life was not great. It was not glamorous, and I wasn't seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that was what was really hard for me. And we didn't know how long we were going to be in Arkansas because the plan was to sell this cookie shop after he like flipped it essentially. And that wasn't happening. And so I wasn't getting a job because I didn't know how long we were going to be there for. And so it was just a lot of unknowns. It was very stressful. And that was really, truly my lowest of lows. And Zach agrees, but we learned a lot from that situation because we made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we learned a ton. So ended up getting out of that situation. Zach was starting to kind of figure out what he needed to do to sell it. And I also forgot to mention that we were planning our wedding. And so we both had to get out of there, but I had to get out of there sooner because I was like, we gotta like get our wedding figured out. And thankfully our parents helped us a lot, but the things that we couldn't pay for in cash because we literally had no money, we put on credit cards. So drowning in debt is not even close to an overstatement whatsoever. I moved up north by myself. I got a job, and I remember applying for this apartment. Like, I was trying to get everything set up before Zach got there, and I was just trying to make it easy for him to close everything out with the Nestle Toll House. So I got my job, and I was so nervous to apply for an apartment because I was like, my credit score is so bad. My job wasn't even like a full-time job. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to get approved for this. And the apartment I was applying for was not nice. It will always be special to me because it's our first apartment that we had when we were married, but it was not nice. It had bugs everywhere. It was very old, but like very sweet and charming in its own way. So I did get approved, and I was so elated, and it meant the world to me. And so I was very excited about that. Zach moved home, we got married, and life took an even bigger change at this point. My job started out really fun, and I really, really enjoyed it because, like I said before, I love people. I love connecting with people. I like talking to people. I like making people laugh. I like teaching them things, making their life better, all that stuff. And that was really what my job description was. It was a lot of connecting with people and helping them, and I absolutely loved it. The problem was that my boss was just very harsh. She was a very harsh woman. I think that everyone has some good in them. I think she's got some good in her, but she did not always let it show, and she said a lot of mean things, a lot of very hurtful things. And mind you, I grew up in the competitive dance world, and I have had many things thrown my way, and I never, ever cried at practice or anything like that. But this job, I could not even hold back tears sometimes, and I went home crying a lot. So I realized that my mental health was really deteriorating at that point, and for a job that was not really like a full-time job or anything like that, it wasn't worth it. And again, it was another push of you're supposed to be doing something else. So I quit my job, and I really dove into my network marketing business because, like absolutely anything that we do in life, the more that we put in, the more we're going to get out. And I started putting absolutely everything I had into this business because Zach kept telling me, Kylie, you're the variable. We moved back. We were both back. We were married. Life was good. But he had his full-time job in corporate. And I was like, I am the one that can change this. So I started doing pretty well with my network marketing business. I started making a lot more money than I did before. I started earning awards, and our team was on fire. So I'm still so proud of that turnaround because it was hard. It was a lot of work, but we really came out on top in that situation. However, we were still in debt, and I was very convinced that everyone has debt, right? Which you don't need convincing, that's a fact. But I was like, that's normal. If everyone has it, it must be fine, and I shouldn't be worried about it. And Zach was very stressed out about the debt that we had. He kept telling me, it doesn't matter how much money we make, if we keep spending it and not paying things off, we're not setting ourselves up for the future, and especially for a life of freedom, because he had dreams of being self-employed as well. So it took a really long time for him to make it make sense to me. But once we broke it down, and I think the thing that stuck the most is when he kind of showed me, and I did not want to look at money, you guys. That was a huge problem of mine. I didn't want to know like how bad it was, so I ignored it. And therefore, I had no idea what was ever going on in our finances. Therefore, I couldn't make goals or plans because I had nothing to go off of. But he finally got me to look at it, bless him. And I realized, wow, if we actually didn't have any of these debts that we owed, we would be way better off. We wouldn't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I mean, how much more money would we have left over to put into savings, into a Roth, into anything else, or to spend it on things that we want to do in life? After a lot of conversations like that, we got very, very serious about going debt free. We laid it all out. We have family meetings. We still do this. We always will at the beginning of every month. Usually within the first like 3-4 days of the month, we have a family meeting. We go over a lot of stuff, but especially the budget. We started breaking it down. We started getting on the same page. We started making goals and plans, and we put Post-its all over the wall so that every time we paid something off, we could rip them off. Because to me, this needed to be a game. This cannot be boring. I can't do boring. I don't know if any of you out there are like, I hate finances because it's so friggin' boring. And that was how I felt. I didn't even want to talk about it because it just bored me to death. And I literally just like I could not focus because I hated it so much. But then I started to realize that we could make it fun and we could make it into a game. And that was when I really got excited about this. I got excited about the future possibilities. I got excited about the things that we wanted. And I got excited about ripping Post-its off the wall because that just seemed really fun to me. After a while, we started to really get in the flow with this and we were on fire and we really just kept rocking it and we became debt free in March. And I'm so, so proud of that. $80,000 paid off. We are debt free and it feels so free to me. And that's a huge thing for me. And you'll learn this. It's not even necessarily about the money. It's about what the money means. And having a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you're happy, but it can mean that you have more freedom and more choices. And when you have more choices, you can learn to make the right choices to be happy. And abundance of money is amazing, but that alone doesn't necessarily make people happy. So we're gonna learn a lot about each other. I'm excited to hear your stories, but that is mine. And I will continue to share kind of my mindsets around that because I really believe that with a debt-free journey or just kind of refreshing your finances, I genuinely believe that it's hugely about your mindset. You have to have a good mindset. Like mine was all about struggle, and I started to realize that no, I am in control of this and I can change this story. And when I realized that, that was when things changed. And I started to allow myself to learn more because it's both. It's having a really good mindset and actually understanding how it all works. And I promise we're gonna make this fun because we don't do boring around here because boring never gets anything done. So that rhymed, I didn't even mean it to. So that's exciting. So anyways, the next couple episodes are going to be about mindset. They're also gonna be about the plans that we made. The next episode I have for you guys is gonna be about the 4 steps of kicking off your debt-free journey because I think there's 4 things that you absolutely have to clarify before you really jump in. I have a workbook to go with it. It's just a Word document. It's free. It's nothing fancy, but it's proven to be pretty helpful for some of my friends. So check it out and we will see you the next time on Money Mindset Monday.